Hello, this is Erin LaFaive, and I'm the herbalist with Full Circle Herbals and Plant Priestess. And today we're talking about how to drink more herbal tea. People have said that they wish they could be tea drinkers, but they don't even know how to make a cup of tea. So I thought I'd do just a 4-day quick little challenge for people to understand how to make a cup of tea, different ways to make a cup of tea, and what herbs you should drink or you want to maybe drink, how to grow some herbs and things like that, and how to make it enjoyable, because some people said herbal tea does not taste good to them. So there are ways to make it a little bit more jazzed up and just fun to drink. Tasty. It should be tasty. So I am going to be showing you a few things. I have some things here to share with you today. So first of all, everybody just thinks of it as a cup of tea, a little bit of tea to drink. If you want to get more of a therapeutic or medicinal-like dose of tea, then you're drinking about 3 cups of tea. But usually if you just want to try to get more fluids into your system, try to get your tongue acclimated to the flavors of the different kinds of herbs out there, then just grab yourself a cup of tea and at least once throughout the day, and see if you can at least get fourth to half of it down if you're not used to drinking it. So first of all, the basic way that most people know how to make a cup of tea is with a tea packet. So here is Traditional Medicinals. It's a brand. Here is a tea bag. There we go. And then what you do, get yourself a cup, put it in the cup. Easy so far, right? Get yourself some hot water that's been boiled. Fill it up. Now you're going to want to wait for about anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. It just depends on how strong you're going to like your tea. Now I have a handout that I sent through email, so if you want to get that handout, you have to get on my email list. And I'll put that in the comments afterwards too, about how to get onto that email list. But in the email, I have a activity that I suggest people do, which is try making 2 cups of the same tea and let it steep, which means let it soak for 5 minutes and let the other one soak for 15 minutes and see if there's a difference in flavor. You might like a particular kind of herbal blend to be stronger, and other herbal blends you might want it to be not as strong. So you can try different steeping times as well. So this one, I know that I don't want it steeping too long, so I'm going to pretend about like 5 minutes have passed. And what I do is you definitely want to have a bowl or a saucer around, because when you take this tea out, it's definitely drippy. If you set it on the table, it's going to soak, the rest of the fluid in there is going to soak out. So definitely put it in a container so that it's not making everything all wet around it. So there, that is the simplest way to make a cup of herbal tea. Just use the bag. Use an herbal tea bag, something that's already packaged from the store, and makes it very easy for you. Some other ways we can make tea is by using loose leaf tea. For example, here is some. This is from Sacred Blossom Tea Farm. This one's called Dream. And the herbs are in there loose. There's no container. You have to find your own kind of container. So I like to, my favorite strainer that I found after trying different ones is this one. And you can use anywhere from a teaspoon to a tablespoon. This package suggests a tablespoon. So you just, I just eyeball it, and there's about a tablespoon or so. And the chunks, the herbs are in larger chunks in this tea blend, and a lot of times they can be very finely chopped in there. So this one I'm going to add a little bit more since everything is in much more bulk. So then you just sit it in your teacup like this, and I already have some liquid in there, but I'm going to add some more because the top of this is the herbs are just floating in there in the water, so I want to get them hydrated. And there you go. So then it just sits in there, and again, you can do anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. Get everything in there wet and good so that it is soaking up all that hot water, because the hot water is what's going to release all the plant constituents that you want to have. So then when you're done, after 5 to 15 or so minutes, then you can just pull out this whole strainer and put it in an area so that it can drip, and then you're done with that. I'm going to show you a few other strainers that I've used. There's ones with larger handles on them too. Here's one that's a silicone based one, and it's a sloth. It's very cute. And what you can do is pull them apart. You would get your herbs, you stuff it in there. Oh my gosh, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess thing. Usually you have to have another bowl under it to catch everything. But you would fill it in there, pack it up. I'm not going to do it, else I'm just going to have it all over my lap. And then you just put it back on. Okay? And then this thing, see all those holes in there? That's where the water gets in to get in contact with the dried herb, the loose herb. And then you can just sit that little guy in there, and he is supposed to be steeping in there. The problem is right now, all those little holes on his backside are not fully in the water. Just a couple rows are in there. So that's kind of a bit of a problem. So then you could just let him float in there. That's good. It looks like, I can't really tip this here. Maybe I can get rid of some of this fluid here. If I tried to show you this little guy floating in there, it looks kind of like a dead rat's in there. It's kind of gross. But anyways, he's in there, he's floating. Yeah, I don't know. This one's a bit tricky because like I said, those little holes in there, there's not as many as like in the mesh screener that I just showed you, the mesh screen, so that the water and the herbs can come in contact with each other. And then when you're done with them, you put them in a container, but then you have to open them up and you have to pull all those herbs out of it. So that's the problem with this little, you're really going to have to dig that out. It's not as easy as taking this and just tapping it upside down and those herbs come out, and then you rinse it out. This one you really got to dig it out. So I'm not a big fan of this guy. He's cute and all. Kind of freaks me out sometimes when I'm going to check my tea and I see this thing floating around in there. Yeah, he's kind of gross looking. Hey, Sarah. All right, so then another thing to use for loose leaf bulk kind of teas, herbal teas, is a muslin bag. And you just put your tablespoon or teaspoon of herb in there, and then you tie it shut. You stick it in your tea, and sometimes you got to put a little bit of a spoon on top of it so that it doesn't just float on the surface of the water, so that it actually sinks in there. Once it gets full of water and the herbs and everything, then it kind of just sinks in there. So anyways, this can be reused, which is kind of cool. And when the herbs are in there and they're all wet, you just push it inside out and everything will just pop out. I compost my herbal teas, so that's what I do, just put in the compost container. And this can be washed in with the dishes. If you want, you probably put it in with your laundry, but it's pretty easy just to wash and set in the strainer and reuse it over and over. The only downside of this is sometimes the flavor of that muslin bag kind of gets in there. Same thing happens with tea bags for me. Sometimes those tea bags, I get a little bit of a flavor of that tea bag in there and I don't really like it. So that's why I like using the mesh strainers, because I don't get any flavor from that either. So anyways, kind of like these, like the reusable idea. So that's kind of one of the ones I have. Oh, here's some other, there's a lot of really cute things out in the market. Here's a little tea, it's a little tea pot, and it comes with its own little dish so that when you pull it out of the water, then it's not dripping all over. And here's this. This is a moon. All right, so yes, cute as a button. However, this thing is pretty tiny, and you have to like shove those herbs in there, especially this blend that I have, because everything is so big, like you're really shoving it in there. And then, you know, there's a fair number of holes in there for the water to get in there. And the cleaning up this thing, you know, you got to get in there, you got to really pull it out. And, you know, I like just to tap something like I showed you that one mesh strainer and be done with it. But this one is kind of cute. You just dunk it in the water. You can hear it bubbling because the water's going in. And then when you take it out, you have this cute little saucer. However, the saucer is pretty small, and that water that's coming out is like going to spill all over the place. So I've had it overrun. So I don't use that one. I just kind of keep it as a cute little thing. Now this little moon here is super cute. However, if I can get it open again, here we go. How are you supposed to put dried herb in this? Like what? How? I suppose if you had it submerged in the herbs and then put it together, but you can't just like put the herbs on either side and then do this, because that'll fall over. They'll fall all over the place. If you just put herb on this side and then shut it, it's still, you might have enough in there, but it's not that much. Maybe a teaspoon. It would be better if the herbs were really chopped up really fine and put it in there. Maybe that would hold enough. But again, I don't use this one. It's just not very practical for me. I am in a hurry. I want to make my tea as fast as I can because I've got 2 kids that I'm home with, and you know, I got things to do. I don't have time to be futzing with these tea things. Another idea that's pretty quick too for loose leaf teas is these are single-use tea infusers. They're just filters. These ones, there's a lot of them out there on the market. There's lots of them. And so this one, these are not bleached. Some of them come bleached, you know, they're just to make them white, but these ones are brown because they haven't been bleached. And what you do, these are kind of nice. You just put your herbs in there. You can fill it up, make a mess like I like to do. Make a mess. Put those herbs all over the place. On your lap, on your floor. So you fill it up, and then you just, you can just stick it in there inside if you want, or sometimes I just go like that. And you stick it in the teacup. Having a spoon works a little bit too, because you can push that spoon and hold it there. Once in a while, it'll start floating around and then it'll open up and then things come out. But for the most part, once it gets full of water, gets soaked up in there, then it'll hold itself. The other thing that can happen too is it wicks it up like a candle would do. And so then the water starts dripping out and onto your table and whatnot. But, you know, again, it's only for about 5 to 15 minutes, so you can hold it if you want to. And then when you're done, voila, the whole thing can go in the compost pile. No cleaning or nothing. So that's nice. Fairly inexpensive. There are other tea bags that you can actually seal shut. So you fill each individual one and then get like a flat iron or a curling iron, and then you just briefly touch it with it. That heat fuses it together, and then you're done. But I ain't got time for that. So I haven't done that in a long time. And I don't like the adhesive that they use to hold it, that heat, to bind it together. I don't think that's really good to drink, so I try not to use those. I usually buy tea bags that have either a string in them or a staple. That's better to be used, in my opinion, rather than these adhesive glues. But to each his own, and sometimes I get what I get and I don't throw a fit. So that's the other thing I do. All right, so I've showed you how to use it. Dried herbs, bagged herbs, loose leaf, Okay, so let's talk about how to use fresh herbs. So if you have some mint outside or lemon balm, maybe even some sage or something like that, you can go out there and pick it. And what I would do is just chop it up finer so that you have the higher surface surface to volume ratio changes, so that it's just not a surface leaf that's only being exposed to the water. You need it to be opened up and allow those the water to get inside the plant. So it helps if you chop it up. And since there's so much water content in leaves and in plants, you're going to need about the double the amount that you would if it were dried. So yeah, you can go out and get your fresh herb and pour boiling water over it, or if it's a hot day or not really caring to drink something hot, you could put it in just regular cold water. You could use one of these infusers if you want, or I actually just put the whole herb, like I'll just get a whole sprig of it and put it in cold water, and then it's a really mild flavor. It's not as strong as, you say, this hot tea you would drink with it, but it's just really refreshing. And then as I finish up that water throughout the day, then I'll just add more water, and it stays, it just has a nice like minty flavor or whatever you're putting in there. So the things that I'm talking to you about here are like for herbal teas that taste good and you're just drinking them to get more fluids into your system, or you're trying to, maybe substitute out something else that you're drinking, a sugary drink, and you're trying to substitute it for something else. If you're going to go for the medicinal effect of some of these herbal tea blends, then you're going to be drinking more, 2-3 cups a day of it. So that's maybe a different topic or different challenge we can do. But next, the next topic I'm going to talk about is, I believe tomorrow is when I talk about which herbs to drink and why. Like, what herbs would you look for if you want something for calming, something for maybe a little bit more energy and things like that. So then we'll also on another day talk about what to do to kind of jazz up the cup of tea. If something doesn't taste right, what should you do to help yourself get used to a certain tea blend. And then I think the fourth day we will be talking about some easy herbs to grow in your own backyard or on a windowsill or something like that, and then how you can use them for tea. So a little bit information on how to dry herbs as well. So if you want to get the handout, basically a very quick cheat sheet of what I just told you, please get on the mailing list for this challenge. I'll put that in the comments after I'm done here. And then so you can get some handouts, and I'll be sending out some extra goodies and worksheets and fun things to do. So thanks for joining in, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time right here in Full Circle Herbals Facebook. Thanks. Bye-bye.